All right, dudes, thanks for joining me. My name is Brainsmasher, and I've got a review for you today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Hit it! Click it! Anyways, today we're going to be talking about an album that I am really stoked to be listening to over and over and over and over again. Death metal album of the year contender for me so far. Talking about Befouled, new one, Crowned in Veneficum. Where do we begin? This is, look, if you're looking for your death metal to have little rhythmic tricks and slams, fuck out of here. If you want it to have technicality and like shreddy, riffy, complicated things, fuck out of here. This is straight, pure, nasty, grimy, filthy, gut-wrenching death metal with no gimmicky bullshit whatsoever. It is very, very satisfying. The evil, dark. The main quality about it that I'm really enjoying is something that I can't necessarily put my finger on yet or put into words. And that's just that its tone and pacing, it doesn't really run away from you, if that makes any sense. I kind of feel like a lot of death metal albums can just like burst into something before I'm done consuming it. So in a way, maybe this is kind of like an older man death metal kind of thing. I mean, obviously it's old school death metal, but I don't necessarily feel like that is in a way mimicking anything or acting like there's any removal from that time period when death metal was a new thing. It sounds as relevant today as this album may have sounded back in 1992. However, in comparison to things like that, like your incantations, this I appreciate for having a really distinct tone to the guitars, the drums, the vocals, the shreddy solos here and there. Everything sounds distinctly on their own, and there's not this like mid-tone mush of production that I get a little lost on with a lot of albums that are just kind of grimy, filthy, and nasty. The tone on this is so masturbatory. You just can't get enough of it. And it utilizes the tone so well. As you'll hear, this was playing in the background, obviously. There are a lot of moments where the guitars just ring out slowly, and they just kind of lay you in this emptiness and this vastness to enjoy the overall just rich, grimy guitar tone. So there'll be these moments where the guitars are the only thing you're hearing, and you're really kind of starting to hear the riff build in familiarity. And then the drummer will come along and add a rhythm to it, which just kind of bursts you into the next part. But yeah, like I said, the pacing of it all is so well thought out. The album layout is really, I think, smart. There's 3 tracks, and then kind of like a short instrumental that's really like simplified and a little more subdued. Then you get 3 more tracks, and then another kind of interlude-y instrumental kind of deal. And then it ends just with the ugliest, slowest, gruesome track on the album, which is Utter Abomination. I cannot recommend this thing enough. It's such a satisfying listen. Couple of tiny gripes about it. There are times when I'm playing this so loud in my car where I'm not even sure if I'm hearing vocals over the overall massive tone of everything. I kind of wish there was maybe a little bit more enunciation to it. And kind of in that same regard, there's times where I'm like, okay, I think I know what the kick drum is doing right now, but I can't really hear it. And if I know Justin well enough, I know that's probably intentional. I would imagine he's an astute enough death metal fanatic that something like a kick drum, like kind of falling down below perceptibility in the mix is something that's a little is like ideal to him. But so like there are times when you can hear the kick drum and it just kind of sounds like a murky, fleshy, kind of wet sound, and it's all head. It's not like boomy kick like you may be used to hearing in something like an Incantation. By the way, I'll address the comparisons that this band gets to Incantation a little bit. I feel like, sure, it sounds like Incantation, like a lot of other death metal bands, but I've always felt like the way that Father Befouled is like pigeonholed as like, well, they're Incantation worship. I've always felt like that's pretty dismissive of their style and personality as a band. And like this here, I think, is the ultimate pinnacle of the band's ideas. And like, it's great to hear a band like fucking rule at an album. A band that's been kind of growing and emerging their sound and working on developing, and just to have an album that's finally just like, this is exactly what I wanted to hear Father Befouled do. What a victory of an album. In the booklet it mentions that there are leads, but I'm not really sure whether I'm correct in telling you that these are more like solos to me. But there'll be times where a riff is building, it rules, the drums join it, and it kind of kicks it into motion, and you're just like fucking grinding away at it. And then comes this really tasteful kind of licky, shreddy kind of thing, and there's a lot of them. There's, in fact, leads or solos on all but the last track on here, which I think is super fun. I don't ordinarily like get excited about guitar solos, but it's just such a perfect addition to the languishing, malodorous, gut-wrenching, fucking gross sound that's just on every single second of this fucking album. It seriously, there's not a lot of death metal albums I feel like I connect with on such a visceral level. They're portraying disgusting, unholy, abominable scenarios, if you will, and it feels so real. It really, like I said, the pacing of everything that doesn't like kind of run away from you is so immersive, and then like the visceral aspect of it is so realistic to me. It seriously feels smelly, disgusting, wretched, and unholy in a way that is satisfying, in a way that I want so many death metal records to sound. It achieves that better than a lot of death metal that I hear. You know, I listen to a lot of death metal. I feel like I just kind of enjoy for the technicality of it. I like clicky, chunky stuff, you know, and I'll fucking buy that shit till I'm dead. I've got thousands of it behind me. But for an album to really like portray the malodorous, morbid, stinky, fucking wretched, for an album to portray just the disgusting, gut-wrenching, funereal, unholy disgustingness in such a realistic way, it's so satisfying, and I don't feel like I find that quality in a lot of other releases, especially not right now. And looking back over the years, it's pretty rare that an album kind of does that for me. And this just hit like exactly when I wanted it to. For some reason, I've been really listening to a ton of like slow, gross death metal. That's my thing lately. It's been like slow death metal. I had a Death Doom phase a little bit last year, but I'm enjoying understanding or kind of learning, I guess, myself about the differences between Death Doom and slow death metal. Not necessarily bands that are like always slow, like a Dirketa or something. But there are parts on here that are fast. There are parts that are really slow. This is a slow part. But I really think it's a tasteful choice, especially for the new drummer, to not just run away blasting through a lot of different parts. Amos does a really great job of just adorning a lot of really simplistic riffs by cleverly, what he'll do is, you know, establish a pattern. The next time the riff repeats, it'll be a little bit different, and then the next time it'll be even a little bit more different, and then the final time, maybe 4 times repeated or something, it will somehow transition cleverly into the next part. And I just feel like that's a really tasteful way to play as a drummer. When I was playing drums in a metal band, I kind of had a bad habit of just like playing the same part over and over and over and over because I had a hard time remembering exactly what I was going to do. So hearing a drummer that takes a part and repeats it, but just with little extra nuances each time, is the way you play drums in a fancy way, young man. So, I don't know. What else can I tell you about this record? This thing fucking rules. Grab a copy of this. Everlasting Spew put this out, obviously, on CD. I'm not sure if this is coming out on LP anytime soon, but do pick this up. Do not despair. I was going to show you a band photo here. Sick layout by Justin. There's the guys. Super proud of these guys for putting out just a phenomenal death metal beast of an album. And I can't fucking wait to see if maybe they might tour somewhere around here. And I just really can't wait to see what else is in store for Father Befouled. So if you've already been a fan of Father Befouled, you're going to love this. And if for some reason you've been a little hesitant to jump in on this band, this is exactly the time for you to pick up the new Father Befouled record. Crowned in Veneficum, pick it up. I command you. We'll see you next time. Woo-hoo! That was a great video. And it was made possible mostly by me, but also thanks to the never-ending, undying love and support of my Patreon subscribers, some of whom are... If you would like to be a part of supporting my channel and encouraging me to make more content that's as good as the one you just watched, join the Patreon. It's $6.66 a month, and I would appreciate your support. Thanks for watching either way.